Let me see if this is working. It's working. What? Yeah. Okay. All right. So listen up, peeps. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. It is Monday. I spent a lot of time this weekend with some amazing women, talking to them, mentoring them, helping them, empowering them. And I wanted to come on here. I know that I speak often about all of the things all of the time, but I felt as if it had been a second since I had talked about finances within the female world. I cannot tell you how many women I am mentoring, coaching, and the issue is almost always finances. It's always finances. They are unhappy in their marriage. They have kids or they don't have kids. Some of them aren't even married. They're just in a partnership and they're being emotionally abused, mentally abused, physically abused, sexually abused. And then on top of all that, also financially abused. And they don't feel as if they have a way out. They don't feel as if there is an alternative to living outside of the world that they have created. And it's unfortunate. And it is incredibly upsetting for me to hear that. Myself, I come to you with actual real life experience with all of that. I have, now that I know, I did not know this previously, but now that I know, I have endured several narcissistic relationships where I was being on one level or another, emotionally, mentally, never physically, sexually or financially, and or always financially abused, and always feeling stuck, always feeling as if I can't get out because I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. And it seemed as if every single month I had nothing. I had nothing. There was no way to save. There was no way to accumulate any sort of finances to actually feel comfortable leaving. And it was incredibly frustrating all of the time. So this is what I've done. I've put together a list of ways to know you're being financially abused. What's so interesting about financial abuse is it is the number one way that women are being abused. And it is the number one abuse that people do not recognize. It's absolutely crazy. And I am one of those people. I am one of those individuals who was in a situation, had literally thought it was all me, literally thought that I deserved it. I thought that I should be happy. And with what I have a roof over my head. Who wouldn't want this? And never viewed what was going on with me as financial abuse. The last situation that I was in, we lived in a very nice house. He bought me a very nice car. He took me to very nice restaurants. And in my mind, and he would tell me, any woman would appreciate this. Any woman would like this. Any woman would die to be in your circumstance. And anyone looking in would have viewed me as being taken care of, as being fortunate, as living like a princess. But what was so crazy about the situation is, yes, I was driving a nice car. Yes, I lived in a nice house. Yes, I was dressed nicely and walked tall and proud and confidently. But I had zero money in my bank account. No money. I had zero money in my bank account. And was completely and utterly trapped where I was. I was in an actual real life prison and had no one to turn to, no one to talk to. How do you even explain that to somebody? How do you explain to somebody that you want to leave that situation and it's horrible and everything looks nice? and then trying to explain to somebody that you want to get out. First of all, very few people understand that. And second of all, very few people even want to hear that. So I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, over 10 things that could be happening to you. And if they are happening to you, this is a good indication that you are being financially abused. These are things that you might view as being normal, but they're actually not normal. Okay? You might think they're normal because they're happening. This was the situation I was in. They're not normal. Okay? Number one, actually, I'm not going to count because I'm going to lose count halfway through. So first, gives you allowances or budgets without your input. This happened to me all the time. First of all, I had no money. A little bit of allowance that he gave me, my daily or weekly, I should say, weekly paycheck that he would give me to work for his company was nothing, basically. And that was his way of budgeting me and giving me some sort of an allowance, or as I used to say, my chore money. This paid for everything. And there was absolutely no way for me to splurge on anything at all or to save anything at all, because a little bit amount of money, he basically made it so that it barely paid for my necessities. It like paid for my phone, it paid for my gas, it paid for the groceries and, little piddly stuff for my son, like shoes or a shirt or whatever. Every single month, at the end of the month, I had zero money left over. Next one, requiring you to account for everything you spend. This did not happen to me all the time, but it did happen to me sometimes. But this is a huge culprit for individuals who are married with joint accounts, and they want to see every receipt and what it actually was. So not just going to Target and spending $27.61. It's Target. What could you possibly be buying at Target? They want to actually see the receipt, and not see the receipt for financial reasons, because you're trying to keep a family budget and you're trying to, save up for an investment or save up for a vacation. They're actually maliciously requiring you to account for everything that you spend in a non-loving way, in a way where you guys did not agree upon this. It's just a rule that they have set out and you have to follow the rule. Okay. Next one, pressures you to quit your job or sabotages your work responsibilities. This happened to me all of the time. This last relationship that I was in, I predominantly worked for him, and I was given an allowance, a weekly allowance, and then any side job. There came a point like 8 years in, the relationship was 13 years. I wanted to start saving money to leave. And I got small side jobs. Like I became a spin instructor at the gym, or I started taking babysitting jobs on the side, or walking dogs on the side. And he would make it so difficult for me to be able to work. Right when he knew I was going to be leaving to teach my spin class, he would come up with some sort of crazy catastrophe, urgent matter, an emergency that had to be dealt with right there and then, when it really didn't have to be. Every single time, he made it so uncomfortable for me, eventually having to call in constantly last minute, that I eventually had to quit working for the gym. With babysitting jobs, same thing. I would, go over it with him. I didn't even necessarily set dates to actually even be able to babysit, because I had to ask for permission to make sure that the time was available where he didn't need me. And it was always something, literally out of probably 100 babysitting opportunities that I could have had, I probably got to fulfill maybe 5 of them. For real. That's for real. That's over maybe a 4-year span. he would just have an absolute hissy fit, come up with something absolutely ridiculous that needed to get done. And he'd be like, what are you going to do? You're going to make like what, $50 here? I'll throw you $50 if you need $50 that badly. Or he would love bomb me. So he would say, hey, I was going to take you out to a really nice dinner and go to a comedy club, but I guess you have to babysit. There's no way that you can get somebody else to do it. Or you're a mom now, like you're a woman. That's a college person. That's a college girl's job. You shouldn't be babysitting. That's beneath you. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to save as many dollars and as much money as I can to do anything possible to be able to save to get out of this relationship. So sabotages any extracurricular money that you could be bringing in that could be constituted as yours is another thing that they do. Feels entitled to your money or assets. Same exact thing. So the little side, companies that I started to create on the side. I have an eBay channel. I have a OfferUp. I have a Poshmark. I do online courses. My business over the years has now grown. But when I was first starting to create all of this stuff and create income, and he would kind of get little whiffs of like, oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? He would want in on it. He'd be like, oh, what are you doing? That should be part of mine. This should be part of mine. That should be part of mine. Meanwhile, I was helping him working 10 to 14 hours at his company, and he was giving me scraps. But then he wanted in on what I was actually building and or minimizing it, keeping my self-esteem low, making it seem as if I couldn't accomplish anything, and kind of making it my destiny to fail in anything else unless he was 100% involved in it. The other thing he did is anytime he heard that or got a whiff of me investing. So I started investing probably 5 years before I left him into stocks. I like opened up an account and started throwing money here and there in. And whenever he would find out that he'd overhear me talking about it, or he'd see a receipt, or he would want to know where I was. So I would throw that in, like I went to, whatever to go put some money in. And he would say stuff all the time, dividends, half that's going to be mine. Where are you getting the money for that? How do you have extra money even laying around? And he would say stuff like that because he knew that he was keeping me to a minimum with the chore allowance or the salary that he was giving me. And he didn't understand how I even had leftover money to invest anything. Next, spends your money without your knowledge. So joint bank accounts. You make more money than he does, or maybe you don't make more money, but he is spending your money. Again, next one, controls how all of the household finances are spent. Anybody who is insisting that they do it all and do not allow you to have access if you want access. Now, obviously, there's a difference if you just hate finances and you're just like, blah, you do it all. I hate it. But if you are in a situation where you're actually wanting to get involved, you're wanting to get educated, you're wanting to sit down and learn, and they are refusing to let you in on the checkbook, the balance, the credit card, online bank statements, online checking account, savings, stocks, anything, denying you access, financial abuse. Limits your ability to attend job trainings, pursue higher education, or otherwise advance your career. So anything that you are trying to do to better yourself. That was a huge one for me. And I wish I would have fought more on that. I am so upset with myself looking back that I didn't put more emphasis on getting educated, because I was making so little money back then that I could have, quite frankly, done some sort of classes or education, even under the radar, if it was like at midnight when he was zoned out in front of the TV. And I probably could have gotten it for free because I was a single mom. I wasn't married, even though I was living with him for so long. and I was making so little money. So keep that in mind. But that was the same thing. Anything that I was doing to better myself, any courses, the life coaching that I took, the the marketing, advertising classes and courses that I would take, not necessarily out of college, but just in general online, was always poking fun. How much money are you going to make with that? There's no way you're going to make any money with that. Belittling it, downplaying it, and basically making it impossible for me to find any time to actually do that. Next one, limits your access to your own bank account or mutual bank accounts. So you have access and they are actually taking access from you, from your own stuff. Lives in your home without working or helping with household tasks. So anybody who is living with you and they are not paying their way or giving you at least 50% in something, whether it's 50% in household chores, 50% in income, 50% in babysitting, whatever it is, they are just taking your money, taking your time, taking your food, taking complete advantage of you and not giving any effort at all financially. Now you have to realize this. If you are doing all the cooking, all the cleaning and working, and he's taking your money, the amount of time that you're spending cooking and cleaning is technically like dollars per hour that he's stealing. That's still financial abuse, because the amount of time that you're spending cooking and cleaning, you could actually be having a second job if you think about that. So even if he was like, hey, I can't give you any money, but I will do all the cooking and all the cleaning, and then you can go out and get, babysit, work on eBay from home, go get a second job, whatever it is, then that's helping offset what he can't do financially. Does that make sense? So just somebody who's completely taken advantage of you. There's no conversation about it. And even if there is a conversation, you bring it up and you're uncomfortable about it. And they are not doing anything to help with that, or they're getting mad at you for bringing that up. Financial abuse. Maxes out credit cards in your name and then doesn't make payments on those credit cards. I have heard about this so many times. Females have credit cards. They lend their female to their man, or lend their credit card to their man. Man doesn't give it back, maxes it out, or just uses it in general and never pays it back. They break up, don't break up, whatever it is, but the female is in charge of paying it off. Absolute ludicrous. You have to guard your credit cards with your life. Credit cards, debit cards, keep them safe. Do not just leave them flailing around in your purse. Keep them tight in a wallet, secured, zippered in your purse, with your purse zippered, so that it's difficult. You don't want money and credit cards just hanging out of your purse where they can grab it without you maybe even knowing it, using it, putting it back, and then having you responsible for the actual bill. Pay attention. It's time to wake up. Threatens to cut you off financially if you disagree. This was another one that I dealt with. Anytime I would throw any sort of extra hissy fit, extra emphasis towards not being happy, him emotionally, mentally, sexually abusing me, he would immediately say something to the effect of, you can just leave. You can just leave. Just leave. Get out of here. Doesn't matter. I'll find another girl. Somebody else could do it better. Somebody else will actually appreciate this. You're taking advantage of my wealth. You're taking advantage of my finances. When 100% that wasn't true. These are things that they say to you to make you question yourself. When somebody is threatening to kick you out and you have nothing, again, financial abuse, because what that does is that keeps you from being able to open your mouth, speak your mind, and communicate your feelings or your thoughts with them. If you're continuously having to hold your tongue because you're worried about being thrown out on the street, and your communication within your relationship, it doesn't flow nicely where you can come with criticisms about what's going on without feeling like you're going to be on the street next week, that's abuse. That is 100% abuse. There's zero communication with that. Uses funds from child's savings account without a mutual agreement. So taking money from your kids, from your kids or your kids together, and not asking for permission. Prevents you from working by hiding your keys or offering to babysit and then not showing up. A huge one. My keys were taken all the time. All the time. And not just taken and put in his pocket. He would take them and drop them in a safe that was in our closet that I didn't know the code to. So whenever I started throwing, irritations, frustrations, whatever it is, getting a little snippy with him, he would punish me. He would use that to be able to punish me for me able to go to my job or even go anywhere, even just taking my keys, because he owned the vehicle, and he owned the vehicle on purpose. He purposely bought me a vehicle in his name, told me it was mine, and then would use it against me so that he could control me and control where I was going, how long I was gone for, or if I was even able to go. It was absolutely horrible. I can't even tell you how many times I had to jump on my bike with a dress on just to get to where I needed to go, because he would not allow me to take my vehicle. And I was getting to a point towards the end where I was powerful. And I was like, screw this. I don't have to take my car. I can get anywhere I want, whenever I want. I have a freaking bike. I have an Uber. I used to even Uber sometimes. So he would try his best to control me. And it worked for a very long time. But then towards the end, when I was gaining power, gaining momentum, gaining more finances, I started to really take the power back and find other means, find other solutions to the issue that I was being confronted with. A lot of times what happens is we are confronted with a problem, and then we sit and we become a victim, and we're like, boo-hoo me. He's taking my car from me. I have no other way. It's very important to open up your mind. What's another way? Could you walk? I have walked for real. Because we used to work at the same office, and there was times when we'd get into some sort of tiff, something would happen. He would snatch my keys from me. He'd be like, good luck getting home. And I'd be like, fine. And I would walk. Because he'd want me to go with him somewhere that wasn't something that I had agreed on, and I was going to do something else or something like that. And I would just walk my butt home. If I was in heels, I'd take my heels off and walk barefoot all the way home. You have power, and you have to use it. You can't sit all the time. And play this victim mentality. If you play the victim mentality and these things that I'm listening to you continue to happen to you, it's because you're playing the victim. There are ways and means to get out and wiggle your way out. Is the process hard? Yes. Is it stressful? Yes. Did I want to cry all the time? Yes. Did I contemplate suicide almost daily? Yes, 100%. But this is the thing. The more you read, the more you educate, the more you listen to things like this, women who have gone through it before, the more strength that you can pull from. See, the reason that I do what I do, the reason that I tell my story is because I promised myself that when I got out of the relationship that I was out of, and once I got out of my financial deficit, that I would take every single thing that I learned from other women. I got my power from other women just like this, that did Facebook Lives, that did YouTube, that were writing forums, that were writing blogs. And I absorbed everything. I learned everything I possibly could. I probably have 25 books on financial freedom. And I read everything. I absorbed everything. I did everything exactly what I saw, heard, and read. And I am where I am now because of that. And I told myself that if I ever got to this point, I would pay it forward. And that is what I am doing 100%. The blogs that I do, the vlogs that I do, the videos that I do, the Facebook posts that I do, these lives that I do is to pay it forward. Is for you to be reminded that you have the power, you have the inner strength, you have the confidence. You just have to find it. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. Every single one of us was born a winner. Every single one of us was born a champion. There is not one single person on this earth that did not fight to be where they are, you included. And you were absolutely not put on this earth to be somebody's punching bag, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, or financially. You were put on this earth to do big things. You were put on this earth to succeed. You were put on this earth to be powerful. Absolutely. The last one I have on my list: engages in other forms of abuse like belittling or physical abuse when they get angry over your spending habits. So if they are hitting you, if they are throwing things, if you went to Target and you bought a shirt for $10.97, and your spouse has a complete mental hissy fit about that and whips his phone across the room, that is financial abuse 100. 100. All right. So now that we talked about what financial abuse is, what it looks like, I want to give you a couple of things that you can do right now where you're at. Might not be able to do it at scale. When I was first starting out, I had to do all of my stuff low key because he ran my life. I worked with him. He was my boss. He convinced me at the very beginning of our relationship, a year or two in, to quit my job. He was like, quit your job. Let's spend all day together. Let's build an empire together. Let's be a power couple. And needless to say, I basically wound up being his slave for the remaining 11 years or whatever it was. He paid me minimal until the very end, last probably handful of years, because I started using his tactics against him, which I've shared that story before, and I'll share that story again, but not right now. If you're interested in that, follow me. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook. And, I tell that story every so often. And it starts out small. Doesn't start out big. I started out just taking pictures of clothes on my phone. When he was sitting in front of the TV, I would pretend like I was working in my office. I'd have 5 shirts, previously checked out of the dresser. I'd hang them up, take pictures of them, place them up on eBay. That's how I started. I opened up a secret bank account and I sold the shirt here, sold the shirt here, sold the jacket. I started listing all of my son's old clothes. I was hoping to have another child, so I had kept everything of his. And luckily for me, by the time that happened and I wanted to leave, I had a ton of clothes. I had a ton of toys, and I listed everything, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds over the course of years. And really made some money for myself. I slowly opened up a Poshmark, slowly, started doing OfferUp, and then started, doing what I do now, online courses, YouTube, Facebook, started mentoring under the table, and eventually got enough money to leave. And, obviously now that I have more time and this is 100% my job, my gig, my thing, obviously now I put 100% effort into all of the side jobs that I had at the time are now my main jobs. And I love what I do. I love the diversity of it. I love the people. And it just goes to show that it starts out small, but if you have faith, if you keep doing it every single day, no matter how you feel, you can get results. So the first thing is to create a budget. Okay, because I was on limited funds, he was paying me for the first probably 4 or 5 years, $250 a week. $250 a week, absolutely pathetic. So embarrassing to even say right now. And that was working for him 10 to 14 hours a day. That is not a joke. That is absolutely not a joke. 10 to 14 hours a day in his office, working, building. And the reason he was able to have me do this is because he said, we're going to work really hard right now. We're going to work really hard right now. And then I'm going to give you your dream life. And you're going to have everything you ever wanted. And basically what happened is he kept all of the money and he spent it all on cars and golf clubs and motorcycles and bigger houses. And he kept everything. So there's a lesson learned. But because I had a limited amount of funds, I had to really budget. I started figuring out exactly what I was going to be making for dinner. I made sure that like Monday's dinner rolled into Tuesday's dinner, rolled into Wednesday's dinner. I was very meticulous with lunches and breakfasts. I started making smoothies, and living off of, a jar of smoothie every single morning until my lunch. And started shopping at Aldi's. Besides like certain brands that he really liked, like he loved Oreos or he loved Red Bull, those sort of things. Obviously I'd have to go to the regular grocery store, but things like pasta, beans, meats, breads, I bought all of that at Aldi's, and super cheap. And that's how I was able to save $20 here, $50 here. And before you know it, I had $1,000 in my account just by budgeting. The next thing is save a specific percentage of income each year. So have a goal. That's what I did. So when I first started out, my goal was to save $10,000. That was my first goal. I said, I need to save $10,000 within 2 years. It was $5,000 a year. $5,000 a year. It's about $500 a month, approximately. But you have to know that. You have to know that in your head. And I used to write it down all the time, constantly. I even had a bracelet that I kept around my wrist that had like my money goals in code, like numbered code on my wrist. I always told myself I was going to start adding to it and continue to wear it as my money goal looks bigger and bigger and bigger, but I haven't done that. Maybe I should start that up again. But I actually had them on my wrist as reminders. So whenever I was getting down, whenever I was getting frustrated, I could look down and I could actually see the dollar amount or the number. It didn't have a dollar amount, but the number, which meant something to me as far as what I needed for that year. The next thing is an emergency savings account. An emergency savings account. So important. So important. After you are done saving, after you leave, you still want to keep saving. Keep saving. Because this is what happens. If you ever get in an area or in a strap where you are financially low, the probability of you feeling as if you need to go back to your partner is higher. They say the number one reason why females go back to an abusive relationship is because of finances. Not number two, not number three, not number four. Number one reason is financial distress. That is why they go back to abusive relationships. So even when you save the money, even when you get out of the relationship, keep saving the same way. Do not start splurging. Do not try to wave a flag of victory in his face and start buying Gucci shoes and Prada bags or whatever it is. Keep saving the same way. I went on like double, triple time when I moved out. I did not stop. I went in overdrive and just saved. I was working constantly all the time with my side hustles, creating money, creating wealth, because what this does is it creates confidence. This creates power and gives you the ability to trust yourself and not feel an obligation to go back to the situation that you were in. Next one, ensure self and future earnings appropriately. So what I do is I actually set a thought process of how much money I need to live for like 2 years. Always making sure that I have a large amount of money for future earnings set aside so that if anything were to happen, that's outside of your emergency fund. This is another fund so that you can retire early, so that if something happens to your job, for instance, you have money there available to you. And the other one is to invest in something, whether it's stocks, whether it's saving money to invest in a home so that you can, as a rental, so you can rent it out. Be smart with your money. Come to me with any questions. I lived this so hard on multiple levels. If there was anyone who did not have faith, anyone who did not think that they would ever make it, it was me. And I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that have the same exact story. I literally thought that I was working in vain. I literally thought I was crazy. I literally thought there was absolutely no way I would ever get out of my situation. Even after I saved $1,000, $4,000, $10,000, $15,000, it didn't matter how much money I had saved over a duration of years. I always, in the back of my mind, thought I was going to lose. I walked tall, I walked confidently, but there was always a section in me that felt insecure and that felt as if I would never be able to get out of that relationship. And here I am. 3 years out. I walked out June 21st, 3 years ago. Or coming up 4 years ago now. Oh my God, crazy. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, there's no way I will ever be able to escape this. This is going to be my hell forever. And here I am. So any of you that need mentoring, that need assistance, that has questions, reach out. I don't have any problem answering miscellaneous things here and there. I do have mentor groups. I do have group coaching. I do have one-on-one coaching. I'm coming up with an awesome online course right now as we speak. Lots of awesome stuff on this. This is my passion. This is everything. This is everything to me. I hate seeing women in predicaments like that. And I hate seeing women who feel completely hopeless. It brings me right back to where I was. And I do everything possible to make sure that the individuals who come to me, who invest in my coaching, are empowered times 100 and walk away feeling absolutely 100% different, empowered, and confident. So anyways, I hope you guys have a fantastic Monday. I wanted to come in right fast and give you guys that information. It was really speaking to me today, and I didn't want the inspiration to be fleeting